Greetings and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Warren Stokes. I'm going to be your host and presenter today. And boy, do we have an exciting topic for you all. And that is all about data. Specifically, we're going to be really getting into some depth here on how to get actionable insight from your CRM data. Now, first of all, I'm going to point out that I'm not going to administer death by PowerPoint, but I have a lot of reference material, and to kind of frame the demonstration portion of this, I'm going to go through a few concepts here with you first. Again, my name is Warren Stokes. I'm delighted to share all of this information with you today, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking a lot about best practices for structuring your data so that ultimately you'll be able to make data-driven decisions. Just a little bit of background on our company and myself. Profit is a very interesting and different CRM, although many of the top topics that we're covering today can be applied to any CRM out there on the market. But Profit is different in that it's intended to be a very easy to use CRM. It's embedded in Microsoft Outlook, integrated with Office and Office 365. And it helps solve one of the biggest challenges in CRM, which is end user adoption. And I want to point out that there are several reasons for failure of CRMs, and the biggest one is getting people to actually use it. And it turns out one of the reasons people get frustrated with the CRM is it's just too hard to get the data in and too hard to make sense of the data that gets put into the system. And we help solve those problems. We've been at this since 2002. We're based in Bellevue, Washington. We've been a Microsoft Gold development partner for all this time, and we're very unique in that we develop the software. We're the software developers. We market and sell it. We implement it. We provide all the ongoing support from our headquarters in Bellevue, Washington. We win lots of awards. I personally have, and I won't dwell on those, but most of them are on ease of use. I've personally been in sales management for over 15 years, most of that in the CRM industry. I've actually helped, well over 900 companies now get started with Profit, and really I enjoy it because we help them grow their business. I hold a couple of US patents. I have another one pending in the sales automation area. And I also put a lot of my stuff on YouTube, on our YouTube channels, and they get a lot of views. So it might seem like a fairly dry subject, but I trust you'll find a lot of interest or have a lot of interest and get a lot of value from this. And one concept is, it just occurred to me a little while ago that, CRM would be very easy, except for one thing. And that one thing is data. And think of data as part of the, I guess you'd call it, information value chain. Raw data is only of so much use until you can organize it to some degree, and then it becomes information, more usable. You start studying that information and you gain knowledge. You start realizing things about the data that you have and the information that you're processing. Ultimately, then you'll be able to derive insights from it. And specifically, as we'll go through this, and I think we'll arrive at the same conclusion, the main thing is to gain actionable insight. Actually, okay, it's kind of like the what and the so what. The what is the data, the information, the knowledge. The so what is what you do with it. And that's going to be a key part of our discussion today. And then finally, the idea is to put it into action. So the whole goal with CRM, at least from the standpoint of the data you collect and manage, is to generate actionable insights. So that's really the overarching topics. And this infographic was provided by me from our CEO, Mr. YP Chan, and he's very well schooled in a lot of these arts. The main things that we're going to be getting across today is help you answer key questions, and I'm going to go through this quickly, and we'll refer to these questions as we go through the whole demonstration of this. But do you know how many new contacts were created last month? How many new opportunities were created by the sales team? Which rep generated the most activity? Which client saw the most or the least activity? You might want to check and see if there's underserved clients. How long is your sales cycle? Do you know that for sure? What's your forecast? What's it based on? How am I doing on lead conversion? If you guys generate leads or opportunities, how well do you convert them? Might want to compare that by rep or by territory or other criteria. How many activities does it take to close the deal? I'll tell you a really quick story. I had one of our younger associates come to me not long ago and say, Warren, I think I had a revelation. I had a kind of an epiphany last night. He says, I think that there's some relationship between activities and sales. I had to laugh because, yeah, that's exactly right. And this will help you with that as well. How much revenue is in my pipeline? Is it going up or down? You know, what's it looking like here? And by the way, you can ask questions in the chat control panel. I'll monitor that as we go through this. And the other concepts here, really important, is this whole idea of actionable insight. What is that? Well, it's taking the information, the knowledge from the data and actually coming up with something to do with it. All right, examples examples on that would include, like, okay, maybe you have a really successful rep. What are they doing that's different? Perhaps you want to take some action on that and just replicate that into other areas. Lots and lots of examples as we go through this, you'll see. I'm going to be talking about what I refer to as data taxonomy. Sounds like a big, $2 word there, but it's actually a really important thing. Data taxonomy is the ability and the method of classifying and categorizing data so that it can become more useful. You should think of data in terms of what you must have in a record, what you should have, and what would simply be nice to have, and make sure you're getting the must-haves in there. And we'll be going through that in some detail. And this all goes to the best practices for structuring data so that it becomes useful, that it becomes actionable. You got to make the data easy to get into the system and easy to get it out in the form of reports and dashboards and things. Very important in this whole process, we'll be covering various methods of preventing and cleaning up duplicate data. Nothing more frustrating than seeing a bunch of data that's been duplicated. And, you probably heard this before. I really like this. You can't manage what you can't measure. So you need some way of measuring all of this data in a usable format. And like I said, it's the what and the so what. The what is the data. The so what is the actions that you'll take from the data. And I will be sharing these slides. If you email me after the webinar, I can send you the slide deck. I'd be happy to do that. And there will also be a recording of this available as well for anyone that's registered. Here's the deal, though, and I don't want to sound like, well, you know who, but the key concept is this whole process will then allow you to inspect what you expect. If you're expecting salespeople to create new contacts every month or every week or every day and create new opportunities every month, well, you need a way to inspect that that's actually going on. And things have changed. It used to be, and I don't want to insult anybody, but it used to be that, salespeople they were doing their job and they didn't want anyone looking over their shoulder. And I'm not talking about Big Brother is watching you, but I am talking about there's some basic things we need to do in business and we need to make sure they're happening. So you need to inspect what you expect. Making it easy to get the data in, I'll cover this very quickly, but you can do it actually in Profit from existing Outlook contacts. Come over natively. It's pretty awesome. You can keep your personal contacts as private, so you don't have your dog groomer and your aunt and uncle in the CRM. But really, by using Outlook contacts, that means a lot of the data gets in there automatically. Profit does create company records automatically, and it starts associating all the contacts with it. Pretty cool. You can drag and drop, and I'll show you how to do that if you don't know how, from inbound emails and how you can create a contact quickly from an email. Lots of ways to get data in, and they're all pretty easy. You can easily import data into Profit, and most CRMs for that matter, from Excel. You can use it to mass update records in Profit. We have web form integration. If the data gets created by the customer, by the prospect, they just fill out a web form, it goes into the system, boom, you get an email alert when a new opportunity or contact is created from your website. Pretty awesome. We have ERP and accounting integration. Last thing you want to do is recreate all that. Although, a simple way to do it is just exporting the data from an ERP or your accounting system and importing it into Profit. Either way, last thing you want to do is have people spend all their time doing a bunch of data entry, right? Contact data taxonomy. What does that mean? Well, it means that one of the most core pieces of data that you have in your CRM is your contact data, obviously. And the more you can capture about the contact, the better, within reason though. And there's some what I call must-have examples. Like in a contact, Yeah, you got to have a full name. Nothing drives me crazier than seeing contacts in a CRM that have the first name. Oh, Bill. Okay, great. That's a lot of use. You need a full name. You know what? And these days, you need an email address, or that contact isn't going to be very useful. And of course, phone number. So I consider these to be the must-have information in a contact. And think about it. Even in a web form, you're going to ask them for their name, email address, and phone number. Otherwise, how are you going to contact them? You know? And what you really should have, if you're in a B2B environment, which a lot of you are, is the company name that they're with. Some of this you might get later, but job title, of course. In Profit, you'll see that you can actually track the contacts by job title and job function to see if you're getting quality contacts. Mobile phone numbers, how important is that these days, right? With all this highly distributed things going on in the world today, mobile phone numbers have become important, and there are databases and things you can mine that will actually, I have a database that is grabbing about 30 to 40% of the data with mobile phone numbers these days. I can share that with you separately offline. We don't sell data, but I can share with you some of my experience. Physical address, how else? Data taxonomy is like, how do you classify and categorize contacts by job title? By where they are geographically, very important. So you need address for that, or at least part of it. Nice to have would include things like LinkedIn profile. You know, if you're on the Microsoft 365 platform, that actually connects automatically. It's pretty cool. I can show you that. Maybe you want to know what are they interested in? Wine tasting, tennis, golf, car collecting, you name it. How about you want to know, when they call up, hey, how's your golf game? I'm a golfer, so I usually use that example. Birthday or birth date, so you can make a list of people whose birthdays are coming up this week. Pretty cool stuff, all basically because you've captured enough data through the basic contact, and we call it taxonomy, the ability to classify and categorize data. This is important. I'm going to give you real live examples here in just a minute. In a couple of minutes here. Company records are the same idea. What must you have? Well, full company name, right? How about a phone number? Yeah, got to have that. Might be different than the person's, especially with mobile numbers. What should you have? Well, physical address, again, for the taxonomy. The company website, nice to have in the CRM. What industry are they in, or segment, or whatever you call it? That way you can slice and dice, do outreach, do follow-ups by industry, location, and maybe the type of company. Maybe you want to distinguish between distributors or manufacturers or consultants, or you name it. Nice to have information like the number of employees, how many locations they operate, maybe if there's parent companies, subsidiaries, and that sort of thing. Opportunity taxonomy means you have company records associated with it, and you're going to have all of the information from the company and or contacts and other required fields. And the opportunity, you would want a description. Call it a lead, call it an opportunity. It's customizable. Call it a prospect record. But you need certain information, and you can make those required in Profit, by the way. You really should have what the value of this deal could be. Initially, it could be an educated guess. But potential revenue is a key part of the taxonomy, the ability to classify and categorize your opportunity pipeline, your sales pipeline. Obviously, by deal size would be an important one. When do you think the deals might close? Again, educated guess at first. With Profit, you'll be able to get a really good educated guess, because you'll know what your average sales cycle is in terms of the opportunity creation date versus when you close it. Pretty handy. So you can have some good defaults. Probability, what's the likelihood of closing? Did you know you really only need about 4 key pieces of information about your opportunities to develop a good forecast and pipeline report? And of course, potential revenue, estimated close date, probability, and the sales stage are the 4 things that you really only need. It's amazing, 4 pieces of data. And then with those 4 pieces of data, you can really start accurately forecasting your pipeline. Yeah, and we are going to make the video recording of this available to anyone that's on the webinar today. Nice to have in your opportunity taxonomy is what industry are they with. So again, you can slice and dice and combine criteria. I want to see all the companies with opportunities over $300,000 that might close in the next 60 days that are 50% or more likely to close, and they're all in XYZ industry. And where did the leads come from? You know, maybe you want to track where the lead source is, where they web leads, where they referrals, where they existing customers, expansion, land and expand, and so forth. Who's your competition in the deals? Come on, these are the things you really want to know, but you have to have ways of capturing them, and we're going to get into that in a moment. Speaking of data taxonomy and data in general, holy moly, the most important thing, one of the most important things, is preventing duplicates. Nothing more. Second most frustrating thing is having duplicate records. You need duplicate checking when you're creating contacts, when you're creating companies, when you're importing data. And Profit, by the way, has all these things. During web form integration, you need to do validation and dupe checking to make sure you're not creating dupes automatically from a web form. During an ERP integration, which we do perform and offer integration with ERP and other systems and platforms. But you need dupe checking, you need duplicate prevention, then you need duplicate cleanup. Because one day you'll find duplicates found their way into your system. When you find duplicate contacts, you need a way to clean them up. When you have duplicate companies, you need a way to clean them up. And what about when companies have different spellings? Same company, somebody might enter it as a, ABC Corp LLC, somebody else might spell it with Inc. Corp, etc. So you need ways to make sure you can either clean that up or prevent it from the very beginning. And inspect what you expect. It's all about getting the data, make it easy to view. And for that, we have a lot of reports and dashboards, which I'll be showing you. Things like when were the opportunities last updated? Are they getting stale? Are people following up? You can do that for contacts, accounts, opportunities. It's all live data. Is it data complete? You can do a quick filter or sort and see if people are putting in a last name of the contacts, or, are they getting the physical address in there as you would expect? How many contacts are getting created? How many accounts were created? Again, if you have expectations, KPIs, or some people call them, they're metrics. Basically, if you have goals or metrics, then you can have a way of inspecting what you expect on that. How many new deals were created? And you can get all that with your analytics dashboards that you're going to see here in a moment. We have pipeline dashboards, activity dashboards, productivity analysis, and even dashboards that show your pipeline by products and or services. There's 4 of them. I won't get into them. I'm going to show you the live examples, but these 4 visual dashboards make it easy to understand. The thing about it is that data is research has found that people can understand colored charts and graphs easier than they can understand rows of data, unless maybe you're an accountant, I don't know. But these dashboards give you meaningful, insightful data that you can take action on. What are your trends? What data is not very useful unless you see trends. Are the trends going up, down? Are they flat? What are you going to do about it? What action can you take? All right, we can do custom dashboards, but it's all about getting actionable insight. I call it the what and the so what. The what is the data, the information, and the knowledge. The so what is what you do with it. What makes some reps more productive than others? Just pure activity? Is it where they're focusing? Is it how many clients they engage with? What is it? What lead sources are producing the most revenue, or whatever you call them, opportunity sources? Cold calls, the lost art of cold calling, referrals, webinars, website. Which one produced the most? And then how do you interpret the trends? Is your sales pipeline getting healthier or not? Pretty obvious you want it to be healthier every month, every quarter, every year. If it's not, you got to do something about it. Are you creating more contacts than you were a month ago, a quarter ago, a year ago, or fewer? What about opportunities? You need to get this data and interpret it so that you can do something about it. Where is this new business coming from geographically? So I'm going to give you my biggest business tip of the day right now. Find out what's working and what's not working. When you find out what's working, you simply do more of it. That's my big business tip of the day. Find out what's working and do more of it. Yep, I knew you would get some value out of the webinar today. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go right into the CRM, and to do that, we're going to go right into Microsoft Outlook. Now, just a little plug on how Profit works. It's actually built into Outlook. So Profit manifests itself, and you know this if you're a Profit client already, but just for those of you who are looking at Profit as a potential CRM for your company, or your business. Just want to give you the navigation here. Then we're going to go in and we're going to cover all of these aspects of it. Let me just move this over for a second, and I'll make sure we cover all those pertinent points. So let's start with the views. So these folders in Outlook are your CRM views. Now you can just click on a folder and get into a view. Like if I click on the sales pipeline folder, by the way, you can call those folders whatever you want. Here's a folder that shows all my manufacturing sales pipeline. You can have different views in it. And again, the only way I can do this is by having good data, which I'm going to show you how to get there here in a moment. But just as a little bit more orientation, by the way, you can also open these and keep them in the same window. So here's a contact folder. In Outlook, I'm just in my contact database, and I can have different lists in here. You can also have your company database. So really think of the type of data that you're going to be managing. This whole thing about data, I'm actually quite surprised, by the way, that this webinar has gotten really pretty good, amazing attendance today. And I guess it makes sense because people struggle with data, but one of the main concepts is it's not really brain surgery. There's 3 types of data. You need to get good data in, and you need to make it easy to get out and interpret. So the 3 types of data are contacts, companies, and opportunities, or whatever you call those in your business. Now there are other situations, scenarios like customer service cases or IT projects or something, but essentially there's contacts, companies, and opportunities for most of us out there. So let's talk a little bit about how do you make it easy to get data into the system? Well, I'll take a great example you may or may not be aware of. In Outlook, in your inbox, you get an email from someone. What if you wanted to create a contact from an inbound email? You may know this. It's what's called a drag and drop function in Outlook. It's built right into Outlook. So you can drag and drop this email over your people folder, and it would start creating a contact for you. Well, let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to go right down here to my people folder. I'm just dragging that email over my people folder, and I'm dropping it. So drag and drop. Profit has a duplicate checker. Remember, we just talked about this. A duplicate checker, so you don't inadvertently create duplicates. So in this case, I already have this contact in my database, and I could open it from there. And by the way, if I wanted to create an opportunity, I can do that with one click right here, which is pretty useful. But let's say that contact wasn't in my database. There were no matches found, or that 2 people with the same name, they're really different people. I click create new contact. It's warning me again, so that again, you don't want to create duplicates. And then I have the contact started here. Automatically you get the first name, last name, and email address populated. But check out what I'm going to do here. Oftentimes in a signature, there would be an address. You can just drag it over there. There's the name of the company so that it's spelled exactly correctly right out of their signature. Here's the person's phone number, and so on. Now I might want to categorize this in different ways. This is an Outlook function. You can see how you can put different categories on this. And basically what I'm saying is that I've captured a contact, and I'm starting to get my taxonomy established right here. Again, remember what we said, you want full name, email address, and phone number as a minimum. For extra credit, you put the company name in, very important, and maybe the website, all right? But the physical address will allow us to slice and dice it by city, state, zip, that sort of thing. So really, that's the concept of creating a duplicate. Now I'm going to actually save and close this, and I'm going to, you'll see what happens here. It's warning me again that I'm going to add as a new contact, because this will I'll show you how to eliminate duplicates later when they might exist. So all that means is it's easy to create a contact from an inbound email. All right. So another way to get data into Profit is through importing. And this isn't going to be a full training session, but just to show you, it's not all that difficult. With a little guidance from us, you'll be able to do this. So you start by getting your data in an Excel spreadsheet that you want to import into Profit. And this is super important, that you get the data organized in a way that makes sense here. And what I mean by that is that in the Excel file that you create, you want their first name, in a column, last name in a column, email address, contact phone, address, city, state, zip, all of those taxonomy things, including, by the way, you can put in who the users are going to be. That automatically assigns them to those reps, notes from those contacts, and then you can add Profit's custom fields like type of contact, hobbies or industry or things like that. So basically the main idea is you get a clean Excel spreadsheet, you save it, and then you are able to import that into Profit. I'll show you how that works just briefly, because getting data into the system has to be easy no matter how you do it. So there's an import utility in Profit. You simply go to the tools, import Profit data, and it's going to bring up a 4-step wizard that lets me import the data. Now I've already saved that Excel file with the contacts or accounts that I want to import. In this case, I'll just choose that one of my files, the contact files. And you'll see down here that I'll select that file. That's just my Excel file. I add it to my session here. You can add others if you wanted to. Notice how it's picking up the first sheet of the contact. You can have multiple sheets. And then you do what's called mapping the fields. You can auto map to start because some of them will have the same name. And then you'll drag and drop where it says email address is just going to go over to email. Contact address is just going to address. I'm just doing a drag and drop, to match up the fields before I do the import. City goes to contact city and so on. Contact state to state, province, and so on. So all I'm doing here is I'm matching up the fields, called field mapping, so that it's telling it where to go in Profit. Pretty clear, right? Then, very important, you have deduping options built right into this import utility. The whole point is, the last thing you want to do is inadvertently create duplicates from, your import. I usually leave it on merge data. That has intelligent merge functionality built into it. You could skip duplicates. There are a couple of other options, but basically there's some dedupe options. And then finally, this fourth screen is if you were to be using Profit's utility to mass update records, you can do it at a field level. Maybe you want to add users or add revenue numbers or some other criteria to a mass number of records here in Profit. So that's another way to get data into Profit, is from the utility here of the import. Yet another way to get data in would be perhaps you have a website where you have a form that gets filled out. And I'm going to just jump into our website to show you an example of how that works. One of our websites, our main company website, obvidian.com or profitcrm.com. Either one gets you there. And whenever you have a form, you'll see full name, business email, and phone number. Click Contact Us. That form can create the contact automatically. And if you have a certain form that says maybe contact sales for a quote, that can generate an opportunity automatically right from your website. That's one of the options that you can choose. And if you're an existing client, we can help you get going on that right away if you're interested in that. So, creating data from, so basically creating it from inbound emails. All your Outlook contacts already automatically exist. You can drag and drop to create contacts. You can easily import data from Excel, from websites, and we can also integrate data from accounting systems. We can do a live data feed from any system, really. Any system with the criteria of if that system has an open API like Profit does, it can be integrated, or if you have direct access to the actual database itself, we can provide that integration. We actually provide the open API at no cost. Companies usually have us do it for them, but that's the idea. So what do you do with this data taxonomy that I call, right? What's the deal here? Well, I guess one thing to recognize is that, you need to think about getting the data organized. So here's some data that I imported, by the way. This is prospect data. And if I wanted to do a quick filter by 2 or 3 criteria, first of all, these columns are very simply just the fields in the contact. Again, if I open up a contact record here, you'll see that it has address, city, state, zip. Now, and Profit adds customizable fields so that you can capture additional information, which you can open right here from the contact record, by the way. So the taxonomy part of it is the ability to classify and categorize the data. So maybe you want to notice this is a suspect or a prospect or a current client. Are they a qualified lead? What's their LinkedIn profile? Where did the lead come from? Maybe you want to capture what their hobbies are, you know, cooking. If you do comma separated values, it works really nice for doing reports, by the way. And maybe you want roles, often can be different than titles. You know, maybe this is an operations role and its title might be CEO, but, you know, might actually do some real work too. That was intended to be a joke for the CEOs in the audience there, by the way. Anyway, what are their interests? You know, real estate and investing or something, right? So I'm just capturing some basic information about the contact, and I'll apply that so later I can slice and dice by any of that criteria. But the main concept here is that you start with raw data, you get the information, get it organized in a way that provides you useful information, you know, columns of data. And by the way, in Profit, you can create any list that you want by just moving columns around. You know, I can type of contact, I can move created data over here, things of that nature. And let's say I wanted to filter this down from 1,374 by looking at some criteria, maybe, and it's just like an Excel spreadsheet, that's intentional. You can just start typing in the term you want, construction, okay, so that narrowed it down. So you'll see now there's a shorter list there, and maybe I want to look at only those that were, I don't know, created in a certain date range, okay, so the available filter. These are some of the more advanced filters you can use to organize your data. Let's say I only want those created in the month of September to today, the September 24th date. All right, so this will, oh, look at that, it narrowed it down to 683. So I'm slicing and dicing the data, and I'm going to add a third filter, state. All right, so maybe, or I can add a couple of states if I want. Maybe I want to put in here California and New York or something, right? So these are all just like, they're very similar to how Excel works. You can just filter it. So what I've just done is I've created a list that was started at over, you know, 3,000 contacts, and now I have a very, very targeted list of contacts that meet an industry, that they were created recently in a certain date range, and they're all in California or New York. Hey, while we're having fun, why don't we just do one more filter and do by job title. I'm going to just type in very simple freeform vice, and I'll start typing in vice president and see what I get. Well, look at that. Now I can narrow it down by all the contacts that are vice presidents in that region, in that date range of a certain type. And by the way, with Profit, Profit integrates with MailChimp. I'm digressing into one of the things you can do from the data, but I've never. I was just told. Funny. I was just told on a call just before this webinar that I wasn't going to make it as a comedian. I don't try to be funny, but sometimes people laugh. Anyway, I digress. So let's go back to what we could do with this. Well, let's say you wanted to do some outreach. So Profit does have an integration with MailChimp and Constant Contact, wherein you can use the Profit database as the source and simply subscribe them to lists or whatever in those different systems. Or you can say, I just want to do a little mini email blast out to them right through Profit. This is something you can do with your data, right? I can say, I want to send a personalized, important email out to everyone on this list, and I'm just going to put in my content. Did you know that Microsoft 365 now has all sorts of template capability, even more than it used to? There's templates and quick parts. When I click send, everyone on this list is going to receive a personalized email from me to them right through Outlook. It's not really a mass email. It's sent one-on-one, nor is it a blind copy. It's literally as though I just wrote this individual Outlook email to everyone on that list, bearing in mind that the data I was using was very organized. It was all the contacts that were in the construction segment, all of the contacts that were in California or New York and that were created in the month of September and so forth. So I got a couple of little Q&A things going on. All right, so I'm watching my questions. Oh, so there's a good question about mass cleaning up the data rather than one by one? That's a good question, and we are working on some magic right now as we speak of being able to mass dedupe data. Not an easy project, but doesn't quite exist yet, so thanks for the question on that. In the meantime, though, there is a way to do it using our import utility and export and import utility, deduping it and then re-importing it. But I'd be glad to take any of those kind of more deeper questions offline, and we'll cover those as we can. Just schedule a meeting with me. If you don't have my contact information, I'll post it here shortly. Anyway, to continue, thank you again for that question. You get the idea here is that what we really have is a bunch of data that's sorted into information that's then organized by the taxonomy, the criteria, the categories, the classifications of them. So then you can start doing something with it. It might just be that you just want to do some basic outreach. Nothing like having a little part of your data is your activity collection. You know, I did a quote follow-up, I left a voicemail, things of that nature. If you're already a Profit user, you probably know about this function. I left a voicemail. But the data that adds is an activity data point so that you can track activities, and it also adds the user, and it adds the time and the date, so you can be very granular if you're studying activity data. Let's keep moving. LinkedIn profiles. Oh, I was going to show you something. I'm bouncing around a little here, but I'm going to take one of my colleagues as an example here. He won't mind. And I'm going to show you a little something that's part of just how Office 365 works these days. And you can see how, you know, it works with LinkedIn. I'll use my colleague Barry here. So notice that if I just go over to Barry's email address, it's starting to pop up some things, just all kinds of interesting information in here. But if I click on that, it's going to give me a whole profile. In this case, right out of the contact card, look at all that: title, address, city, state, zip, home phone, mobile phone. And if they're a LinkedIn member, look at that. You got their LinkedIn profile right here. Pretty cool. So the point with that is that's just another data point, you know, LinkedIn and that sort of thing. When you start mastering data, you start getting a power in your business that you've never had, in my opinion. All of this holds true to company records as well. Let's see, I'm going to do a deduping of a contact just to kind of carry on in that. But all of this same functions work for a company. I've got to watch the clock. I didn't want to keep you guys more than an hour today, and I'm sure you're on the edge of your seats. So, I want to keep you engaged here. But I want to show you the deduping function that Profit has by just, in this case, taking a contact. And I got to spell it like I put it in the system, Anthony Hopkins. And I'm going to see if I should have created a dupe here. It's a live webinar. You never know if it'll really work, but aha, it worked. I just did an advanced search, put the name in. Now I've got two of them. They look the same. One of them has a little more information on the interests. Maybe there's a couple of other data points missing or what have you. But let's just say that I want this one here to override the other one. So if I make that the one that I save and close, don't really have to do anything, just open it, save and close it. That'll create the last criteria for overriding any field updates. Now I'm just going to right click and say merge contacts. Profit will then introduce its business logic into the equation, and it's going to dedupe the contacts and merge them into one, is how it works. So that notes get appended, they never get overwritten, by the way, and empty fields get populated with populated fields, and any things that have data in both fields, the most recently saved record will override that. So that's an example of merging or deduping a contact. You can do the same thing for companies. There it goes, completed. Pretty awesome. Got a question about how many emails that you can use to send at once using that group email function. Actually, there's technically no limit in Profit, but remember that they are going through your Outlook client, which means they take about a half second per email to process. Therefore, it's not practical to send like 1,000 at a time necessarily. That's one thought, but there's no limit, daily, hourly, monthly, or anything, unless you're either your Microsoft Office plan, your 365 plan, or your ISP provides or asserts limits on you. There are no limits, but think of it as though you were reaching out to clients or people you've already engaged with, people that you would and often might just send an email to. So yeah, if you try 2200, it might take a while, and if it has to just churn away. I don't recommend doing 2000 or 2200 there for whoever it was there that asked that question. But thanks, I appreciate it. I appreciate the questions. Let's continue. Now, there is let's go to companies here for a moment, and in the company record, I'm just going to show you an example of a company record with a lot of data in it. Random prospecting record that I have. But notice that this has the name, the phone number, fax number for those of you who still use that, the website. Hey, I'm getting a pretty good score here so far. I've got the company name, phone number, website, address, city, state, zip. Starting to look at a pretty good grade. I also got the number of employees. Now, these are customizable fields, but you might want to know about how many employees they have or the exact number. What's their primary industry? What type of revenue range do they have? What type of company are they, right? Distributor, manufacturer, rep, whatever. And then other data that we actually collect, like what's their business model, B2B, B2C, nonprofit. Maybe you want to capture even more data. What industry are they in and things like that, right? So essentially you can capture all of this in the company record. Many of those fields are customizable, 72 of them are, and then you can use them in the same way to slice and dice company data. This could be a list of accounts. Right now I'm in a prospecting list. You could have accounts by territory. Here's all my Hollywood accounts. Again, the point of this is to try to think about what you want to get out of the system, and then we can show you a way to do it. Like what you want to get out of it is, I want all of my accounts organized by region. I want to have all of my accounts organized by industry. I want to have them organized by sales rep or any combination of those things. Slice and dice to understand the data. And I'm sure you're starting to get the idea here is that data is at the core of all of this. Let's talk a little bit about what I mean by inspect what you expect. Okay, maybe you're in an account view and you want to just look at the oldest and most recently modified. By the way, this pane you can raise and lower. But here, if I wanted to see all the accounts that were updated in the last 30 days or something, I could just look at them, sort it, just like you do in Excel, by date, until all of these accounts were updated. 10 of them were updated within the last 30 days. Then I have some that haven't been contacted or touched in a while. Might be time to reach out to them, right? So inspect what you expect. Do you expect your salespeople or your account reps to talk to your clients once a month? Easy to see. In fact, you can even do a greater than or less than filter to give you that list without having to just visually identify it. Or between a certain date, maybe I want to see all of those that were contacted or not contacted in a certain date range. So I can add a filter. There you go. There's my companies that fell into that date range. Clear the filter just like you do Excel. And remember, you can move these columns around. You can choose other columns to go in your view. On the left are all the columns that are available in the database, including customizable fields. If you want the number of employees or, you can put that in there. You can move them up and down here, which moves them to the left and right in your view. But the point is that all that same functionality we went through in some detail at the contact level is also at the company level. Now we're going to get into a little bit more on inspecting what you expect. So let's go back in and let's look at our sales pipeline. So let's just click on that folder and I'll go in and we'll go into one of my views, manufacturing view here. Let's just say that we have a lot of different templates and industries we serve. So maybe you want to sort and filter this by some criteria, like only those that have reached a certain stage. Let's say that they've been quoted. So again, just like an Excel filter, what I'm doing is refining this list to certain criteria. They're all active. Let's change that. So I'm adding 2 filters. All right. So I want to look at all active deals that have quotes. Well, if that's not useful information, what is, right? In sales, this is where the money's coming from, right? This is my hot list. These are all the deals that are active that I've quoted. I better be on top of this list, if nothing else, right? Anyway, so you can see how I just added a couple of filters to my list just to get basically try to understand what's going on, in this case in my sales pipeline. You can clear a filter as easy as you set it. You just say clear filter, just like Excel. You might want to sort it. So filtering is reducing the number of records by some criteria. Sorting, of course, is ordering it by some criteria. In this case, let's say revenue. Well, that's a pretty smart thing for a salesperson to do. Where's your bread buttered? Maybe on the largest deals. You certainly don't want those to fall between the cracks. I'll tell you a real quick story about this real world example. I was meeting with a prospect who later became a client of ours. And I was just asking him, as I would normally do, I said, what are some of the problems you face and that you're trying to solve with our solution, our CRM? And he said, well, I'll tell you exactly what it is. He says, we seem to have trouble keep following up on all of our large quotes that we send out. I go, His name was Patrick. Why is that, Patrick? And he says, well, that's a good question. I asked the sales team that. You know what they told me? They were too busy following up on all the small ones. Yeah. So what if you wanted to go in and just say, hey, when was the last time this record was updated here? And I see that it was, it's your largest deals. In fact, maybe you want to look at, you can see, if I just go in here and I select with my cursor, or I'm just doing this with my keyboard, what are my top 10 deals in my pipeline? What are they worth? Without even running a report, I can see that I have $1.7 million in my top 10 deals, average deal size 178K, right? Interpreting, getting value out of the data is what it's all about. Who doesn't want, if you're in a sales function or if you're one of those lucky CEOs that cares about sales, it's important to know where your revenue is coming from, when it will come, what's the probability of it coming, and things of that nature. So getting actionable insight is what this is all about. How many opportunities were created? I'm going to get into some really colorful charts and graphs here in a moment, but I'm just going to show you an example just by going into one of the simple reports in Profit and see what we can glean from that. Let's just say I'm going to have a sales meeting. This is built right into all the sales team versions of Profit, and I just want to see what's in my pipeline, between now and the 25th of December, and that's it. I could add other filters like sales rep and stuff, but this will just give me everything I need to know in terms of what's in my pipeline. You can see here that I have 10 deals that I've quoted, 6 deals that are in product demo state, 1 I'm still qualifying, and so on. Here's a list of them all. I can save that as a PDF or what have you. Maybe I want to run an activity report. I go in and put a date range. This is inspecting what you expect. This is getting actionable insight from it. Run the report on activity. Here it is. You can see all my notes from each call, right? I don't know if you guys knew this, but I actually do occasionally do some real work. Evidence right here, besides doing webinars and stuff like that. Anyway, these are document style reports. You can use that. And to kind of finalize here and wrap up in the next 10 minutes, what I want to do is talk a little bit about our dashboard capability. Now we've now got the capability of embedding the analytics right here in Profit, and so they come up in an Outlook frame. I use the Power BI desktop for a couple of reasons I'll share with you. Basically, when I click on that, this is going to bring up my all of my dashboards. So what Profit will do is aggregate all of the data. This is real-time feed. This, for example, there's 4 dashboards that come with the out-of-box version of these analytics. Pipeline, how many active opportunities do I have by estimated close date? You can see it's live data. I can change the slider here. It changes the graphs. What are the trends? Oh, I kind of like all these upward trends, actually, by the way. Well, how many did I win? How many did I win? How many did I lose? I won 148 and lost 72. That's a conversion rate. Oh, look at that. I get conversion by user. How much active revenue do I have? What are the stages of them all? What are the opportunity pipeline by your different team members? All extremely valuable information. All right. And activities. if you expect salespeople or anyone to make certain number of sales activities, it might be a good idea to take a look at it every once in a while. I'll try to be real soft on that in case there's anybody that's, well, that might apply to here. How many activities did each person generate? What type of activities did they generate? Maybe you want to see activities by customer. You want to see where your new accounts were created or the opportunities created by geographic location. Here's a good one. Contacts created by job function, manager, owner, C-level, director, VP level. Now, these aren't necessarily just exact duplicates out of the job title in the contact. We use a little fuzzy logic, AI type stuff to kind of interpret various things. But what you want to see is you want to see that you're creating quality contacts, in that if you're really trying to penetrate director level and above or VP level and above, you want to make sure that that's the type of data you're getting into the system. Pretty freaking useful, if you ask me. All this is basically a result of having good data that you get into the system. Now, I'm going to just comment a little bit on it because some people are saying, yeah, but my people will never enter it. Well, remember, I gave you 5 techniques to make it easy. And I'm getting quite a few more questions. I don't know if I can answer them all. Email drag and drop and linking opportunities. Sure, let's wrap up with that one. It's a good one. In any event, these dashboards give you the ability to inspect what you expect. There's also a product analysis. You can see what's in your pipeline by product category and that sort of thing. But I was asked to just do one more demonstration of this. Apparently it was interesting. And then we're going to add a little nuance to it. So we're going to go into an email again from Anthony. We're going to do a drag and drop, but this time we're going to turn it into an opportunity as the kind of way to wrap up here. Drag and drop that email to my people folder. I can either create a new contact or open in the existing one. We already created a new one. Now I'm going to open that contact and I'm going to create an opportunity with it. Profit ribbon says create a record. That's an opportunity by default. And we're going to create an opportunity with that. Now that email that you see in the contact is actually already in the notes section here. You can even put a note that's notes from the email. You see that right there? Now, if you wanted to link any emails from that further, you can do it through the email linking function of Profit. But that's what I mean by making it easy to get the data into Profit and then track things more thoroughly. And by the way, I would be delighted to either have me or someone on my team meet with you if you guys have more questions that I couldn't get to throughout the course of this webinar today. There's a nice question here. Do you have to have a subscription to have DocuSign integrated for electronic signatures? Well, you have to have at least Adobe Sign or DocuSign, but I tell you one thing you can do. You can create a quote here in Profit and you can generate a PDF of it and send that PDF, click, and you can send it as a PDF that easily. And if they're using Adobe Sign, then you can sign any PDF. But that's an integration that we're interested in doing and could very well end up doing. And lastly, I have been recording this this webinar, and the recording will be available automatically to anyone who either asks for it or theoretically, if you registered or attended, you should get an email with a link to this recording. But if not, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to post my contact information here for a moment. I got to tell you, I love doing these webinars. It's probably done probably 80 or 90 of the public webinars, thousands of demos. I really enjoy it because we help companies get organized and grow their business. And I hope we can do the same for you. You all take care, be safe, and have a wonderful day, and we'll sign off now.